Good evening. Welcome to this SoPHE technical presentation. My name is Giovanni Tocco. I am the SoPHE UAE chair. And today we're going to talk about the copper-silver ionization system and leisure control by Ateca, the Dutch water expert. So, okay, let me just go through the slides again. So, as you may know, CIBSE SoPHE responsibility as a region is to promote the intellectual welfare of its members and improve the understanding of building services engineering in our society by organizing events and other activities related to the built environment. A few notes about SoPHE Network. As you know, SoPHE Network span all across UK to Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and the UAE. In terms of membership, we have a wide range of membership grades, starting from student members to fellows, honorary fellows. Worldwide, we have around 1,100 members. And in the UAE, we have around 114 members as of 2021. More information about SoPHE. So SoPHE information are available on the CIBSE website. And if any one of you guys need any information with regards to membership, please contact myself on giovanni.tocco@thebestway.com. Any upcoming SoPHE events will be posted on the CIBSE UAE LinkedIn page. And I will also urge everyone on the call to follow the SoPHE LinkedIn page as well for general updates in the public health community. This slide is just to give you guys a quick update on the recent polling that we did on our last event. I just wanted to share the result with you guys. So the last event we have, in terms of field, we have mainly consultant on the call, but we do have people from different background as well, industry, students, contracting as well. In terms of area of expertise, most people on the call, as you will expect, were from a mechanical background, but we could have a good turnover of public health and other discipline as well. SoPHE membership, again, there's a live polling that we did last time. We can see that there's a few members on the call and a few applications in process. And again, I will also urge anyone on the call who need information on membership, please do get in touch with myself. So coming back to the main event for today, as I said, the technical presentation will be on copper-silver ionization system and Legionnaire control. Presented by Ateca, the Dutch water expert. Speakers today will be Mr. Joris Boasson and Mark Engelenburg. Session notes, please type your question on the Q&A panel that will be answered by the speaker during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So your camera will be off and mic will be mute as well. So on that note, Mark, I'll hand over to yourself.
All right. Thank you, Giovanni. Let me see.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Thank you, Giovanni. Welcome, everybody. I think we have quite some people in this webinar. Thank you very much. Almost 100 people. We're going to have a talk about Legionella and copper-silver ionization. First, I would like to show you a little movie about water, just for 1 minute.
Water. We cherish it. It is the foundation for life on Earth, a primary element of our being, vital for all of us. Clean water is essential to safeguard our way of life. But no matter how easily accessible clean water may seem, it is no ordinary good. To ensure people's safety, you need a system that you can rely on. Ateca provides 100% safe and clean drinking water.
So that's Ateca and the way we look at water. And but before we start, we're going to use menti.com, and you will be able to join and answer questions during the presentation. So please, if you would like to log on to this, and it can be done by going to the menti.com website or via the QR code and enter the Menti code. So please join menti.com. I will do the same thing.
We will be showing the code during the presentation a few times. If you miss it now, it's no problem. When we have questions, we will show it again.
Yeah, so I see we have people still logging in, which is good. To give a short introduction, my name is Mark Engelenburg. I started Ateca 20 years ago and introduced copper-silver ionization. And from that moment on, we built copper-silver throughout the world to deliver safe water. Joris?
My name is Joris Boasson. I've been at Ateca about 2 years, selling this great product and teaching people around the world about how to prevent Legionella. I specialize in the international part and the international sales. So if you have any questions or inquiries, you can always come to me, and we can do our best to help you.
Now, please give the city or country you live in and share it. You can. That's nice.
Well, it's great to see that we have people from all over the world.
Whoa!
I see people from Canada to Hong Kong, so that's great. It's nice to have people from everywhere and in these kind of webinars.
A lot of people from Hong Kong.
Ik zoek in de App Store naar.
Thank you for that. And now for to see, please give. Okay, that works automatically. Thank you all. Huh? Ja. Oh, want hij gaat ook weg, hè? Yeah. I'll give you a bit more time, because if I go to the next sheet, then you won't be able to give your profession. And Ireland, yeah. And thank you for also joining the chat box, and yeah. All right, now let's go to the actual workshop. We'll get some questions going. So we try to make this an interesting workshop for you and make it interactive. Please ask your questions if you have in the chat. We'll or pick it up directly, or we maybe it's going to be during the presentation. So we're going to talk about Legionella, the bacteria itself, how it grows, the biofilm. We're going to talk about the challenges you have in the Middle East, especially with the water. And we're going to then go into detail about copper-silver ionization, and also give the differences in other in other techniques you can use. Ateca, we are now operating from Holland. We have distributors around the world, and we have about 1,000 systems operational on land and also on ships and super yachts. We started 20 years ago, and Ateca then introduced copper silver in the Netherlands after a big Legionella outbreak. And from then on, we developed the ICA system, the monitoring. We were involved by authorities to build legislation. We then got approvals. We got certifications by the Royal Institute for Water here in the Netherlands. And also we, well, the last 3 years, our main new product was the Super Tube, and just fresh from the press, it was the ROS certificate, well known in the UK, but also well known in the UAE. Well, iconic projects we did in the UAE. You probably know them. Jumeirah Gate, Wanzabil still in building. Wow Hotel, I think it's almost ready for opening.
Yeah.
And up to now, we did about almost 100 projects in your area, and now we of course are also going into Saudi Arabia and help you if you doing designs there to get safe and Legionella-free water. Now I give a word to Joris to talk about Legionella.
So Legionella, it's a natural occurring bacteria. It is found in most waterways and like rivers, lakes, but also in the potable water in the buildings. This is important, or the most important point is that it grows in hot and cold waters. So the Legionella, it needs oxygen, food, and it also needs the right temperature to grow. As said, it can grow in hot and cold waters, normally between 20 and 45 degrees Celsius. This is a big problem for the UAE because cold water systems, they're within that range, between the 20 and 45 degrees. What we have seen in history is that a country needs a big outbreak in order for it to change its laws and to create laws to prevent the Legionella bacteria. We have seen this in many different cases in the US, in the Netherlands, in UK, in France. Every time there had to a big epidemic had to happen for it to change its rules. And what we want to do is prevent that in the UAE, in the Middle East. We want to be already helping to attack Legionella before a big epidemic starts. So what are the risks involved? So the Legionnaire's disease, it is caused by the Legionnaire bacteria. This is it affects the lungs, and it's a fatal type of pneumonia. The most vulnerable people, as you can see here, are between 50 and 70, so a bit more elderly. The males and smokers, because their lungs are already a bit more affected. So Legionella contaminated water is safe to drink. It's not a problem if you drink the water. It becomes a problem if the bacteria, it reaches your lungs. Then it becomes dangerous. This happens through aerosols, droplets, while showering or with cooling towers with mists. But it also can happen if you're drinking contaminated water and you choke. So if you start coughing and the droplets can get to your lungs, then it can be a problem. So the symptoms are very similar to the ones from the flu, but they're stronger. The problem that we're also getting now is that they're very similar to the symptoms that we see from coronavirus. And obviously it can be a very, very big problem if you get Legionella and the coronavirus at the same time, because they have the same, and it could become a stronger problem. So what we can see is that in the UAE there have been cases of Legionella, but it have been specifically smaller cases and not a big epidemic. So we want to be careful with this, and we want that people in the Middle East are ready to prevent this kind of epidemics by maybe the help we can deliver you. So I'll get with this question.
Yeah, so in this question you see a couple of options you have to prevent Legionella. Maybe you are known by that, maybe not, but please give your own idea on what would be a good solution.
So it's already interesting to see that we see some different answers. We'll give a bit more time to see what you guys think about it.
Well, it's going 50-50 on copper-silver ionization and the chlorine or chlorine dioxide-based systems, and that's interesting to see. So I think that and maybe some of the people joining the webinar maybe even never heard of copper-silver ionization, so we're going to explain about that in the during the presentation.
For one more time, we're going to show the QR code for the people that are in the chat and not able to answer. So if you scan the QR code or you go to menti.com and enter that code, you can also join our questions.
Yeah. All right. Let's. I think it's a good idea to first show the differences between the different options you have, and it was good to see that copper-silver is already known, and some people are, and most of the people got copper-silver as the best option. But the chlorine and the chlorine dioxide were still a good option. Now, I would like to say that chlorine and chlorine dioxide is used a lot in the UK, in the US, and in the Middle East. But especially when you look at the efficacy in cold water, it's very bad. Chlorine dioxide is more stable in the cold water, but still it loses its efficacy fast. And it has a really bad influence on the pipework. So I would like to show you the temperature ID. What is really interesting to see is that in the UK and the US, although using a lot of chlorine and chlorine dioxide, they still have a lot of problems in especially the hot water systems. The cold water systems, they seem to be very safe on Legionella. and the reason of that is because chlorine and chlorine dioxide, it falls out so quickly in hot water. And because of the in the Middle East, the cold water temperature is so hot, you can even see cold water as a hot water system, especially in summertime. And you see a lot of problems occurring with chlorine dioxide because it doesn't work in the cold water in the Middle East. So that's a really important point. The second point is that if you install it, we saw a lot of problems in Spain, in Belgium, in the UK with chlorine dioxide and plastic pipework. And it's clear that this pipework, it will fall out. So it has a really bad influence on the pipework. I think Giovanni, you told me yesterday that you also have a bad story with the use of stainless steel in and the use of chlorine dioxide.
Yeah, that's true actually. So chlorine dioxide, it kind of, I mean, chlorine, really original chlorine kind of killed the whole pipework, including plastic and metal pipe as well. So we had an experience, I mean, a bad experience really, where there was pit corrosion on the network, pretty much on one of our project. But again, so that's kind of the risk with overdosing. Again, it's to do with, it's a good system, to don't get me wrong, but it depends how you kind of, you know, specify it and make sure that operation wise they use the system properly and dose properly as per requirement. But it varies from project to project. Yeah.
Now another thing is the corrosion, and this is not stainless steel pipework. This is coming from an UK project where they have steel plated pipework. And the moment it starts corroding, well, you see how bad it looks. But I have to say, honestly, steel pipework is not used a lot anymore. This is really old stuff. So let's go to copper-silver ionization, because that is it's a more positive way, an interesting way to talk about, subject to talk about. Now, copper-silver ionization is not something that was invented by Ateca. It was already in the early days when the Dutch VOC ship sailed around the world, that they put silver coins in their drinking water, in their wooden barrels, to keep the water safe. And but it was the NASA that, when they started working on the voyage to the moon, they did the scientific research on how copper silver works on bacteria, and especially because of the corrosion of chlorine, which is not so handy in a spaceship, they started to work on this. And they found out the science on how copper and silver work together to stop the growth of bacteria. And the luck is that copper and silver ions have a positive charge, and they will actually look for the bacteria not only in the water but also in the biofilm on the pipework. And the copper opens the way for the silver, and the silver, and that is the second luck in this system, it stops the reproduction. We all know that antibiotics, that kills bacteria, and bacteria get immune for that. And bacteria cannot get immune for copper silver, and then it stops. During the at the end of the presentation, I will give 3 cases and show you how this works in the if you have a Legionella problem and how to solve that. now that you know what the danger is on Legionella and how copper and silver can stop bacteria growth, we were able to design a copper-silver system specially for a certain area. And there are basically 3 types of copper-silver systems. And the first one is based on alloys. Alloys, they were, these were the first type of systems on the market. Basically, it was 95% copper, so not too much silver in the alloys. But the biggest problem was that the electrodes get dirty very quickly and then lose efficacy. These electrodes were used a lot in swimming pool systems. So, for instance, the hydrocil system, which originally comes from a swimming pool design and using alloys, they are sold for potable water as well, and that can end up in a bad situation, especially because you can understand that swimming pool water, you can have fluctuations in the copper silver concentration. It doesn't really matter. In drinking water, because you drink it, that can be creating a bad situation. So you want to have full control over the copper and silver concentrations. And that is sometimes a problem with the swimming pools. The third type is the cooling tower systems. And cooling tower systems are, well, you can see it like a bit of a swimming pool. It's a big area of water with usually higher concentrations of copper silver because of the high bacteria count in a cooling tower. But again, you don't need to have exact control over the concentrations because you don't drink it, you just have it in your cooling tower. Now, the use of pure silver and pure copper electrodes, that came later, and we introduced that in our ICA system. And this one, you can have full control over the copper concentrations and the silver concentrations. And that is really important in the we designed a system that uses that, and we and one of the things that also happened was that what came with it is that the maintenance is less intensive than when you use alloys. I see a remark from Adrian, and maybe we understood it wrong, but I'll get back to you then on this, Adrian. It's not our intention to say wrong things that are not as they should be. So, next question.
So here you can compare which do you think is the biggest advantage, and how you which order you can give it.
We have an interesting question from Haresh on the water parameters. If you talk about potable water, then most of the parameters are all okay. What we sometimes see is that if you have certain water from a certain area, that the water is so clear that the ionization process can be difficult, and that but most of the times that works very well. If you have, for instance, hard water with a lot of magnesium and calcium in the water, that especially with the use of the alloys, it makes the maintenance go up because the electrodes get dirty. But most of the parameters we check that before we get the system operational to have the correct settings. All right, we got some good answers. Thank you very much. Now the setup, where if you design a system, where can you best put the copper silver system? Because you are most of the times working with a tank, we put the system inline or in the circulation. We never put it after the tank, simply because you need a really big system because of the peak flows, and you don't protect the tank. So if you put it inline, you have the water mains coming in, and it goes sometimes through multimedia filters, and you always want to have the copper silver system after the filters. So especially when you use active carbon tends to bind silver ions, and so you reduce the silver concentration. With this setup, we know exactly how much water is going into the tank, and we ionize for a certain set concentrations. We ionize the copper silver, and this is most of the times this is the best setup. But you can also do it in a circulation setup, and if you do it in a circulation setup, then one really important thing is that your copper silver ionization unit should have an extra flow meter to know how much water is entering the tank. Because if you don't know how much water is entering the tank or the filling of the tank, you cannot ionize by the circulation a certain amount so that you have the right concentrations in the tank. And that is really important to know. So if you design it in a circulation, make sure that your copper silver system also has a flow meter, an extra flow meter in the incoming line. Now then you need a bypass. You need a you need to know if it's in the filling line or the circulation line. That gives has an influence on the size of the system. Please look at the filters, the softeners. Softeners tend to get copper out as well. And if you like to receive Revit or AutoCAD drawings, please give us a call on that.
I see two very interesting questions. So maybe we can treat them while we're answering this. So
we have a second question. So please, everybody, you can, on the top you see the menti.com, and you can use the code to enter the questionnaire. In the meantime, it gives me an opportunity to maybe answer the questions. So in the inline setup, this is a question from Peter Wilson. We close the bypass and all the water will go through the ICA system. So we will treat all the water that is coming in. What is really a strong point in using copper silver is the biofilm, because biofilm is the breeding ground of bacteria, and we know that copper and silver will enter the biofilm and control the bacteria growth in general, and that is really so. It basically inactivates the biofilm, and that is really important, and that's why we see that if there is a Legionella problem and we solve it, it won't come back. I see many other questions, but these will be answered later, maybe even via an email. So ideal, you want to have pure copper, pure silver electrodes. You want to have the system in the incoming water, although a second option in the circulation line will be good as well. The online monitoring, because it is drinking water, you like to have you want to have full control over the system, and if you are going to have your client work with a copper silver system, make sure that the company has a good track record on this or cooling tower or potable water systems. Yours.
So we still see a lot of questions coming in. We'll try to answer a few at the end, and when we can't, as Mark said, I'll put them all on an email. And for the people that at the end, you can leave your email address with us, and then we can address the rest of the questions, and we can send them through to all of you, so you have the answers. So Ateca has various different systems which control or prevent Legionella. We started off with the bottom right corner, which is our ICA 100 series. It's the original system that we created, which is tailor-made depending on the location. So if you have a bigger location, we can add more of those electrodes and electrode chambers to satisfy the flow that is needed for the building. But we noticed that we needed smaller systems here in Europe for B&Bs, for smaller healthcare locations. So we created the one that's on top of it, which is the ICA 1, which works on much lower flows, but still gives the ionization that we needed for these kind of locations. This was important for Europe as we were trying to expand and get different buildings in our market. But then, why is it not changing? Sorry. But then, especially for the Middle East, we created a one-of-a-kind unique system, which is the ICA Super Tube. This is a system which is much bigger. Here you can see a technical drawing. We've been working on it for a few years now, and it's been a great success in the Middle East. This system, what's special about it is that we have bigger electrode chambers. These bigger electrode chambers hold bigger pure and copper and pure silver electrodes, which can withstand higher flows. They need less maintenance, and there's a much longer electrode life, so that the maintenance can be lower. Another very important thing is that we're very proud of is our certification. We're certified worldwide on our systems, on our electrodes, and the pipework we use. Two of them, the ones most known for the UK and the UAE, will be the VRAS and the HSE. But we're also very proud of the KIWA, which is a certificate given by the Dutch Royal Institute of Water. As some may know, water is a very important part of the Dutch culture, and that's why it has become a standard in Europe. So it's very important when you're choosing a copper-silver ionization system for your specifications, for when you're building or when you're designing a building, that the whole system and the electrodes are certified. This can be in one of the different certifications that are out there, but it's important that all of the parts are certified and not some of the parts or only the pipework, because there's some companies that only use certified pipework, and this can be a problem because the rest is not certified, and as people are drinking the water, it can become a problem. So, which electrodes would you use for potable water? As we already mentioned, there are two types, yeah, it can be a different answer if you prefer.
I saw one question coming up, and I will give an answer on that. And this was a question from Ken Waits about copper silver not being allowed in the UK. I know that there was a situation 5 years ago on the use of the copper in copper silver ionization, and the HSE then stopped the use of copper silver ionization, I think, for about a couple of months. The whole copper issue was then solved, and as far as I know, and we just set up an Ateca UK last year, we are perfectly allowed to sell and use copper silver ionization in the UK. All right. Thank you for that.
So yeah, obviously most people say pure copper, pure silver. That's what we try to strive for. So what we are very proud of is our ICA ServiceLink, which is our online monitoring system. This online monitoring system gives us the ability to control and see how our locations are doing. So here we are showing you one of our locations in the Middle East. It's Jumeirah Gate. Right now there is no active flow. That is because most of the time it has a
yeah, okay.
So we don't see a flow because there's a tank. So most of the time the tank is tried to be filled quickly. That's why there's no flow. What we can see if we go to overview, we can see the different types of statuses that our system can give. So here it shows that the ICA status is green, so everything is working correctly. We don't see a Legionella status. This is because the client doesn't give us the analysis of the Legionella status. If the client would do so, we could here as well keep track of it and help them to control Legionella. We can also see here, you can add documents, you can schedule any plans for maintenance, you can add any analysis that you want. So there's a lot of things you can do with the system. I'll try to show one if we do that one. Then this system, as you can see here the Legionella status, well, it's green right now. On the 12th of April will be the next sampling moment. So that will be done. And if I show the live, I hope this one is working right now. Yes. So here you can see that there is a flow. You can see that here there is a flow right now. I see that it's a bit slow. So here there's a flow right now happening at the moment. We can see the peak. It's all in liters per minute. And we can see here the different electrodes and how they are working with the different voltage and amps that our system gives to the electrodes. So here you can really see that and we can monitor and we can see if all the electrodes are working correctly. And we can also see if there's maintenance needed, and then we can send someone. Here in the Netherlands, we do it ourselves. We send one of our own colleagues to maintain the systems. And in the different countries, we have distributors or suppliers which help us with this. So if we go back to the. Thank you, Oscar.
So where do you find our systems? First, another question. After answering this question, we will get to some case studies and show you. I see some questions coming in, and yes, Peter, we have an Ateca UK, and it's a separate company that operates in the UK only. I saw a question about a remark from Ken Waits again on the London hospital, and well, it's not good to hear that it needs to be removed because there were no components available. Maybe it's good to get an ICA system there. All right, let's go to 3 case studies. This is a case study, is the Erasmus University Hospital in the Netherlands. This could be the biggest drinking water installation in the Netherlands, over 11,000 tap points, and they had quite a big Legionella problem. So quite a lot of information on the sheet, but the blue columns are the number of tap points that we sample. The red columns are the number of tap points that were contaminated, and all the Legionella contamination add up gives you the yellow line. Now, what you see is that we did a water analysis before putting the system operational, and you see that there is a big Legionella problem. Then after that, we installed the ICA system, and after a month, we did a new sampling, and you see that the Legionella has dropped dramatically. And then it took about 6 months to get the Legionella under control. This hospital has now been using our system for over 10 years. Actually, we just had a new system installed in their new build because they had a Legionella problem there as well. Interesting to see for you is the copper silver concentrations. So you see the red line here is the total number of colonies, Legionella. The blue line is the average copper concentrations on all the samples we took. And the green line in the bottom of the graph is the average silver concentrations. I think there was a question on the use of copper pipework. And the copper pipework already releases quite some copper. So what you see here is that you already have quite some copper before our ecosystem was put operational. So this is copper coming from the in general, the copper silver concentrations goes up, but it doesn't go up with 200 to 400 parts per billion. It goes up with about 100. And this shows you that the release of copper from the pipework is less when you have copper coming from the ecosystem. It's interesting to see. We saw that in many other systems with copper pipework. And this is an interesting case study, because this was a hotel where they did chemical cleaning 2 times a year, and Legionella came back pretty quickly. Although all pipework was according regulations, and they do flushing, and hot temperatures are above 60 degrees. And you see here the same graph. You see the blue columns with the number of tap points we sample, the red ones with the positive ones, and you see that after installation, again, the Legionella drops, and after 2 months, we had no Legionella anymore in the drinking water installation. And this is what we see a lot. And I think when in your area, like in the Middle East, maybe the new builds in Saudi Arabia, you will see that you will start with no Legionella. So we just prevent the Legionella from growing, but this proves that it really works on Legionella. Same graph here with the copper silver. You see that the copper is going up and down a little bit more than the silver because of the copper pipework. And the number of rooms that are occupied. Well, another case study, a big hotel in Den Hague, also encountered a big Legionella problem, and they asked us to help. And this one, again, it took a couple of months to get it Legionella free. But now they are already Legionella free for almost a year. What is interesting in the last couple of months is that because of the Corona issue, you see that a lot of hotels are closed. But although they are closed, Legionella has no chance. Copper silver really has a residual effect, which is working even when there's no water usage. And again, you see here the copper concentrations, the silver concentrations. We had quite some higher concentrations we needed here to get the Legionella problem to solve that. All right.
So you still want to answer some questions, or because we are quite
yeah, it's already almost 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can just take a few questions, guys. Yeah, I think it's beneficial for the whole guys on. I mean, we have a few questions. If you try to make it, in a systematic way, I can read the question through and then I'll skim through it, and then you guys can just provide your feedback. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. And the questions that we don't answer, I can answer them by mail, because if you guys here, for the people that want here, if you enter your email address and your name, it will not be visible for anyone else, just for us. Then we can answer all the questions and send them by email to you. We can also send some Revit drawings and some other information that you want. It's, as I said, it's private. It's just for us, and we won't do anything. We will not send it to anyone else.
Yeah.
Okay, shall I just, Giovanni, do you want me to pick, I saw one interesting question. Shall I just pick one or?
Yeah, go ahead by all means. Yeah, I mean, everybody can see the question. So if you can start from the last one and then climb up.
Well, I see one or two questions on the sizing. I see the sizing of the system. Which parameters do you need to size the copper silver system? Now, when you, we need to know whether you're going to have your copper silver inline or in a circulation. That's important to know. Then we need to know the volume of the tank and the daily usage. We know that in most of the designs, you will have a tank that does have a 3-day reserve, sometimes 2, sometimes 4. That is important to know. And second, we have to know, or third, we have to know what the circulation flow will be. These are the 3 main parameters to design the unit. Let me see, total dissolvable salts. I think that the question about the salts and well, the chlorine, that is maybe a good question to discuss in this presentation. We know that silver reacts with chlorine, and it makes a salt that settles out. And because you make water from seawater, there tends to be chlorine in the water, and they tend to put a lot of chlorine in when they produce the water and pump it into the system. Now, the silver concentrations, and that's why it's no worry, the silver concentrations are so low that if you look at the solubility of the silver salt, it is rarely, and I never saw it, but sometimes in ships, we had one problem there. You see that silver will fall out as a silver chlorine salt. But in the Middle East, that is no issue.
Yeah, I think there's one interesting question, Mark.
Yeah.
Do you have any third-party comparison of the material performance regarding Legionnaire development, like frequently used material, PPR, copper silver, CPVC, polybutylene?
Our
promising claims.
You mean what material we use in building the ICA system, or?
No, any third-party comparison of the materials performances regarding Legionnaire.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we saw. You mean, Giovanni? Do we see a difference in the efficacy of the system when you use different pipeworks in the drinking water installation?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that, and that has basically everything to do with the biofilm that develops in pipework. And you see that in stainless steel, there is not much biofilm development. In copper pipework, it's also not a lot, but it happens. Then you have these plastic pipework, and that is where we see a lot of biofilm. And PVC is even worse than the normal plastic pipework. And if you look at the research done here in the Netherlands with the Royal Institute of Water, you see that a lot of in average, the biofilm in plastic pipework is 10 times higher than in copper pipework. And that makes it really difficult to control bacteria grow in general. Yeah. So, but we know that a lot of the new builds use plastic pipework because it is easy to, it's more cost effective, and it's also easier to construct. Is that okay, Giovanni?
Yeah, I'm just skimming through the different question. Is there any potential galvanic corrosion induced in the system by copper silver process?
No, 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 that is not the case.
And the other one, how quickly does electrodes deplete?
Yeah, and that's a good question, and that is simply related to the concentration settings. If you have higher concentrations, then obviously you have you use more copper silver, and the amount of water you use in the location. So yeah, well, the more water you use, the more copper silver you use.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then but it's easy to calculate with the concentrations and the water you use. Yeah.
Okay, great. What is the expected lifespan of those chambers?
Of the we do a 10-year guarantee at least.
Next one, pure copper and pure silver ions. Will the copper metal easily get rust?
No, we never saw that. No.
Okay, do you have any people in the US region, covering the US region? I think that's it.
Yeah, I saw that question as well. No, we don't have any operation going in the US. And I have to be honest, I don't think we're going to do that.
Okay, what are the main parameters you guys need to size the system?
I think I answered that question.
Yeah, so one of the main is the tank size. If there's a tank, if it what kind of flows there are, if we can place the system before the tank, after the tank, or in a circulation line. What else?
Circulation flow.
Yeah, circulation flow, obviously. Yeah.
Total tank volume. These are a bit the parameters we like to know.
And obviously, if there's an inquiry, the best is always to send some diagrams if they have them, because then we can always help or see what possibilities there are to install the system.
All right, next one. What is acceptable TDS level in the water? I think you answered that before, did you?
Yeah, I think so too. But I will come up with detailed information on that.
Yeah, so everyone that's sending their emails or answered their email in our information, I will put all the questions again, and we will write down the answers, and then I will send them to everyone. And if there are questions, my email address and phone number are on the screen right now. So if you have any questions, always contact me, and we will help you with anything you need.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much, guys. I think there's a few questions still. Yeah, but you guys can contact,
yeah, we will answer the questions. Yeah.
All right. If I may just take the screen back for 1 second.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Giovanni.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Much appreciated. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. So the next upcoming event, SoPHE UAE, will be on thermostatic control and scaling by Reliance. The speaker will be Mr. Paul Donnelly, and that's going to be our April event already. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining this call. I hope that was very interesting for all of you. As I said, if there's any information that you guys need, detailed copy of the presentation, please don't hesitate to contact Mark directly. And this CPD will be, you guys will receive your CPD certificate from CIBSE as well. And I think on this note, I think that's it really from me. So hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Thank you, everyone. Thank Mark.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you
very
very
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you
Take care.
everyone for joining, and we will